FHIR, clouds. Consulting and healthcare companies previously claimed they could create data lakes from FHIR. However, BDR asserts it is the only company able to deliver on this claim, and the evaporating claims of others is well understood. BDR delivers scalable, low-latency FHIR extracts with no staging, no ETL and no army of developers or analysts attempting to learn how FHIR is constructed and functions operationally. BDR easily and accurately extracts any combination of fields from FHIR that researchers, marketing staff or administrators need in their analytic data lakes to advance the healthcare sector. BDR's GUI provides patients with CMS-mandated healthcare information from your FHIR repository. We are starting by demonstrating the BDR migration of JSON healthcare data that is bundled, and BDR is bulk loading bundled data into a new FHIR database. BDR can load bundled and unbundled JSON data, HL7 data and most any healthcare data that needs to be ingested into FHIR, both for strategic as well as regulatory reasons. BDR is not only an end-to-end FHIR encryption microservice and framework, it uses other security methods such as you are seeing here now. The user must enter their credentials and then are prompted and must enter the correct two-factor security code to enter the BDR application. We will now create our first report that will also be used, as will another, as a fact and dimension tables for use by patients as per the CMS regulations, as well as an analytical repository for analysts, data scientists and others. We are connecting to the FHIR server's data we just ingested and starting to select FHIR resources and the data fields within the resources. We are starting with the patient resource and selecting several fields, then we are moving on to the observation resource and selecting columns for this resource, and then displaying and selecting fields from the claims resource. After the user makes all their selection and optionally selection criteria such as location, gender or most any selection criteria, they run this process. Now as we start reviewing the results, BDR through its Spark, Java, Spring Boot framework and microservices, and working within the complex confines of the FHIR framework, complex storage of FHIR's data, compressed files and linkage files, BDR is able to deliver accurate, scalable, secure and quick results. We now have selected to take the data within this report of multiple resources and many fields and write this data to a user schema in a database for future additional viewing and analysis. Now as we refresh the database, we see the new table appear, and as you can see, the data from the report has been written to a new table. Though as we have stated and will often, we process data with end-to-end encryption for security and regulatory compliance. Now the user with the proper BDR and DBA credentials is running a process to decrypt the data to view it, confirm it and make it available for their use. Next the user is selecting to download the data to their computer. The user, as you will see later, will request the data to be downloaded from their iPhone. Before a user is allowed to download secured, encrypted healthcare data, they are prompted once again to enter a new two-factor authorization code, and then is given a secured encrypted code that is used by the secure BDR Crypto.js HTTPS journey to the device they are on, be it a computer, server, iPhone, tablet or most any device with a browser, and the data will be delivered for their use. Now we are seeing the user open the downloaded file, and we can see all the data is delivered as it was on the graphical interface, written to a new database schema and file, and again will soon be shown downloaded and viewable on the user's iPhone. Now we are viewing the BDR administration screens that control users' roles and permissions from what they can process, view, decrypt and other security considerations. This FHIR process allows the administrator to add one or all versions of FHIR resources and fields automatically for use of the patients, analysts and other users of the BDR FHIR framework. Now we are demonstrating the creation of another file with data from the patient resource to be written to the new schema as a new file. This assists users in building data lakes, data warehouses, data marts or many forms of reporting repositories. Give us a week to prove our value in your environment, with your data. Now onto our prior video processing and downloading FHIR data to an iPhone.
BDR FHIR streamlines end-to-end encryption with HTTPS and Crypto.js for patient and analyst downloads and migrations for added protection. Now all servers, devices, iPhones/iPads, Androids, and all devices with a browser, receives the requested file, securely, in motion. then ready for their use. Now the patient or analyst or any credentialed user enters their credentials to begin entering the BDR FHIR application. After a successful login, the user is prompted for a second authentication with their two-factor authentication application. Enter that code and if valid will then enter the BDR FHIR patient and analyst reporting, download and migration application. Now from the iPhone the user has selected the FHIR server parameters, preset by the administrator, to start selecting the resources and fields. Optionally with selection criteria. The user first selected the patient resource, added two fields and selected the criteria to view only information from Dallas. Next the user searches for columns with name in it and selects two more fields for the report. Now the user switches to the observation resource to select fields from there for their report and later migration to the Snowflake data lake. Now the user selects fields with the beginning of the word starting with subject. The user then adds two more fields for their report and clicks the run icon to run the process to create the selected report file. Now the user reviews the results of their selected report and after deciding if it is what they desired, they click on the download icon to securely download this report. The BDR app has yet another added security prompting the user for another two-factor authentication code for allowing the secured download of the report. After successfully adding the correct two-factor code, the user clicks the Generate button that created an encryption code that will decrypt the securely encrypted report and transit to their device via the BDR Crypto.js security and decryption process for the report. Now the user selects the download icon that will start the secure process of downloading their requested report to their device. In this, no iPhone or other apps necessary to make the securely downloaded file viewable and usable by the patient, analyst or any authorized user. Here the user is now reviewing the downloaded data and has full control of its usage. Now the user. More for analysts and scientists. Instead of, or in addition to downloading the report, the user can migrate the data to a data lake for additional analysis, machine learning, or other processing. Here we see after the migration has completed, the report data is now stored in Snowflake securely encrypted. This encrypted data may be decrypted with a BDR proxy or Spark, Java, Spring Framework microservices. Here we are viewing an HL7 raw data file transmitted by a healthcare facility. Now the user is establishing the predefined parameters so migrate this HL7 data into the FHIR repository. The HL7 data will be processed in motion and stored in its final at rest data source in a secure, encrypted format with AES-256 encryption. Neural networks, machine learning, data governance, outliers, pattern recognition, biometrics are at the core of BDR's reporting delivery for FHIR. BDR is a Spark, Java, Spring Boot framework. BDR's UI makes it easy for patients, analysts to select resources and fields for reporting and migration, for additional analysis. Class code is encrypted to secure against reverse engineering. Facilitates low latency backups with securely encrypted data for quick restores when held to ransomware attacks. Meet HIPAA, CMS, CCPA, GDPR, GRC. Regulations with AES-256 encryption, two-factor authentication and our secure proxy to simply read and access the encrypted data from e-commerce, websites and applications. Reach BDR at 847-440-4439 for more information.